All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is New York HR. This is Anthony, and I'm proud to have Latoya Lynn back on the show. Latoya,
Hello,
welcome.
everybody. How's it going?
My guest host for hopefully will be a couple episodes if I actually coerce her enough and bother her enough. She's on a whirlwind tour, evidently interim global head of HR over at Live Person. There's like an EMEA. There's a whole bunch of initials at the end of your new title, so congratulations there.
Yes.
Exciting stuff. You're traveling all over the world, which is exciting.
Fun stuff. Traveling all over, pushing our culture, driving results for the company. That's just what I do.
It's fantastic. I look forward to it, and I'd like to take some credit. I think your show, there's a date correlation to when you were on our show to this promotion. By the way, I'm not taking all the credit. I'm happy to introduce everyone to Christel Colon. Christel, welcome to the show. Christel is a HR business partner at Brookhaven National Laboratory. Some really interesting things, government entity. We did go through some hoops. We weren't used to that here at New York HR, but excited to have you on the show. This has been a while in the making.
Yes, it has been a while. It's been percolating.
Yeah, exact. Great way to put it. So we're excited to have you. Obviously, and for folks that are just tuning in for the first time, the show is about profiling New York, right? So it's such a unique place to be an HR person, an HR professional, recruiting professional. Steve Levy, who's our co-host, who couldn't be here tonight, talks about the difficulties and the benefits of being in HR in New York. So, Christel, I would love to learn a little bit. I mean, the show format. You've seen some of the videos. Obviously, you've seen Latoya as one of our victims. I mean, our ghosts.
She's a star.
Victim is actually what it really was.
Tell us a little bit about you. Like, are you from New York? Are you from the area? Tell us a little bit about Christel.
I am a first-generation New Yorican.
Cool.
I consider myself a Latin from Manhattan.
I like that.
Born and raised in Alphabet City in the 60s, 70s, and 80s when it was hot.
Very cool.
Very hot. Now I couldn't afford to live there if I wanted to.
For those outside New York, what is Alphabet City? Where is that? If you're, if you're coming to New York and visiting, where is that?
So Alphabet City is on the very south and east side of Manhattan. It is just north of the Wall Street area.
Yep.
If you had to divvy up Manhattan, I lived on 8th Street and the FDR Drive, but just ahead of me was Avenue D, Avenue C, Avenue B, Avenue A, and
Alphabet. Yep.
Alphabet City. That's how it got its name for Alphabet City. Because of the Latin heritage and the population that lived there at the time, it was also called Loisalda. So
and what does that translate to?
Well, I think that it has more to do with a spiritual connotation than anything else.
Cool.
So Alphabet City, the Lower East Side, Loisalda. So yes, it was one of those things where depending on who you were talking to, that's where you lived.
Yeah.
There's a very famous bakery over there. I think it's maybe up on 11th Street. It's been there since like the 1800s. I can't remember the name of it.
I'm sure I touched every bakery down there.
Yeah, really famous bakery. It's been there forever. It's like a Lower East Side staple.
Okay.
I'll find the name of it as we in the middle of like the serious part of your conversation. I'll probably remember it.
There is no serious part of our conversation. And by the way, Latoya doesn't like pizza, so she's already, the pizza question to the baker.
I'm anyone who doesn't like pizza.
We'll get to that later.
I'm the other New Yorker. I'm Chinese food. I will talk about that.
Okay.
So you're in Alphabet City. You're growing up there now. Did you go to high school in Manhattan? So you are a New Yorker. More so than I am. I'm a borough kid. You're in Manhattan. Where'd you go to high school, college?
So I went Catholic school K through 12. I went to St. Bridget's Elementary School on 7th Street and Avenue C, right opposite Tompkins Square Park.
Yep.
Cool.
And then I went to St. Michael Academy on 33rd Street between 9th and 10th. That is no longer St. Michael Academy. It closed about 2 years ago, and now it's a charter school.
Oh, wow. Interesting. And then after high school?
And after high school, well, actually during high school, I did a program called a bridge program with Pace University. And so by the time I graduated from high school, I had 32 college credits.
Wow.
So graduation from college was 3 years after graduation from high school.
Cool.
So,
Fantastic.
yes, it was. And
I love being the dumbest person on this show.
I'm like, I wish I had that memo.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
8 years of
and it was a program with our school, and so I did that, and then I worked for quite a while, and when I had my son, that was when I started my master's degree at Stony Brook University, because I was
Awesome.
living on Long Island and
Cool.
working at Stony Brook University.
We must have like this attraction for folks from Long Island on the show. It must be Steve. It's all Long Island. It's crazy. It's good. It's good. I love
I didn't start out here, but here I am.
What was your master's degree in?
My master's degree is in labor management studies.
Awesome. Very
Wow.
cool.
Thank you.
And is that, so now you have your master's degree, is that your transition to HR? Or did you do something? What I love to, because I think HR is the one, and LaToya, actually, I think we talked about this, like HR is one of the professions that there's no real, unless you're at Cornell or like you're taking HR, it's one of the professions that has really varied backgrounds. Like I graduated with an accounting degree. I was terrible at it. Thank God they followed me. They said, you're not really good. I said, you're probably right. And then I got into recruiting in HR. But after master's, what did you go into HR or something else?
Well, no, actually, while I was at my first internship, still at Pace University, I was working at Dow Jones and Company in their corporate relations department,
Cool.
because my undergraduate degree is in speech communications. And so with a concentration in industrial psychology. And so I was working at Dow Jones and Company, and Dow Jones and Company, that internship turned into a full-time job. And while I was there working for my full-time job in the corporate relations department, down the hall was the human resources department. And Dow Jones had this program called the Druthers program, and it afforded an opportunity for employees to think of something they'd rather do.
Huh.
Gave them some opportunity to learn about it, to intern in that department while you were a full-time employee someplace else.
Oh, cool. Great program.
Very cool.
I had that entree into human resources from there. And even though I graduated with a bachelor's in speech communications and industrial psychology, my very next job after Dow Jones was a human resources job.
Great. And where was that? Where did you work?
So that was at a training firm called the Forum Group. No longer exists, and it was short-lived. I went right after that to Debevoise and Plimpton, and that was a real meaty HR job that I had. I was there for a while, and the rest is history. But for the most part, I have been in higher education and research and development and healthcare.
Oh, very cool. So you're not like us. Like you're not a misfit in that sense of accounting into HR. You kind of
not like us. I remember at 16 I wanted to do HR. So
right. Sorry, us. I mean me. You're right. You're right.
That's you. I went for it, just like Christel.
Yeah, we still question that. We still question. You were on purpose.
Yeah.
So now you go through you're at Dow Jones. You go through this program. What was it about HR that you liked that made you then make it a career? Was it what was it about HR that
I think that the thing that I like the most about HR, and it's still the thing that I love the most about HR, is that no 2 days are alike.
Yep.
And that's probably the same thing that I could sometimes say I hate about HR, is that no 2 days are alike. Because sometimes you would like some normalcy, you would like routine, you would like to get something done on your to-do list. But that's what drives HR, is the fact that it's dynamic, because people's stuff happens every day, and so you just kind of have to respond. And we have portions of our job that we can plan and strategize and implement, and they take time, but there's always that immediate need of something happening throughout the course of the day. So there's a lot of conversation around
having HR seat at the table, right? So this idea of being more strategic human resources. And as I think about it, and by the way, I love when we talked to LaToya, she was like, don't ask for a seat. I just go and I get I walk in that room and I sit down and it's like no questions asked, which I absolutely love. Right. But, you know, and that's in, you know, a live person, or where I am at Suzy, we're tech companies. We're becoming more progressive in these things. In a company like yours, more government focused, what is the role of HR? Like, what does that look like? I'm curious.
So the role of HR, even in the 8 years that I have been here, has evolved quite a bit. The role of HR in this organization has become a much more valued role. You know, before, even when I started, I think that individuals were not attuned to consulting with HR. We were very process oriented. Mm-hmm. I think that because we have had to change very quickly to dynamics, you know, that drive our organization, you know, politics, the environment, you know, funding sources and things like that. Change in an organization is very difficult, and in this organization, it is quite difficult. You know, first of all, this is an amazing place. I don't know if you've ever had the chance to come through the gates here, but we have something called Summer Sundays, and we invite the public to come on site and explore for 5 weeks throughout the summer, explore different aspects of the laboratory.
And what is, let me pause there and step back. What is Brookhaven? Can you tell folks that aren't necessarily in New York?
Yes, Brookhaven National Laboratory is a facility that is owned by the Department of Energy. All of the research that is done here, let me take that back. About 85% of the research that is done here is done for the Department of Energy. We also do research for Department of Homeland Security, nuclear non-proliferation work. We do for national security, you know, and so we have some other three-letter agencies to whom for whom we do research, but our primary sponsor is the Department of Energy. And so we are a federal contractor. We are contracted, my organization, Brookhaven Science Associates, is contracted to operate Brookhaven National Laboratory.
Oh, interesting.
So we are a federal contractor. My company itself is not a federal company. We are a private company.
Got it.
Okay.
Oh, I'm following that.
So the way that, you know, our landscape has changed so dramatically, even over the last 10 years, but especially over the last 5 years, has really begged the involvement of HR in all of our people decisions. This organization has a number of individuals who have been with BNL 35, 40 years. It is not unheard of to walk into a room of 10 people and 7 of them will have been here 25 years or more.
Wow.
We have generations of families that work here because we're so far east. You know, we tend to attract a very local population, and, you know, people love it here and they never leave, and they just bring all of their family members to work here. And so it is, you know, it's a very tight community and it's a very family oriented community. And sometimes because of that tightness and that family orientation, it's very difficult to implement change that is required from external force.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine you have the benefits. I mean, LaToya, just like, you know, tech, right? 25 years. I'm thinking 25 days is our 10 years sometimes.
Yeah, actually, I was just like, you know, taking some mental notes. I have a question around, like, you know, because of how the organization, you know, is so tight knit. There's different generations. Are you finding that because of the different generations or different expectations? And do you have like a push and pull of what employees want based on their generations?
Well, we have that. We also have a very large international community.
Right. Also, there's that also layer on top of that.
Scientific ranks. We have a very large scientific international community, lots of foreign nationals. as well as, again, scientists who have been with the organization, 30, 40, 50 years and have really advanced their science over the course of that time. Have made some significant contributions, to physics, to matter, to, cloud theory, to any number of things that are researched at this laboratory. So, yeah, it is very tight knit, but we do have lots of different generations. We have lots of cultural diversity because of our foreign national population, our scientific population. And we're a user laboratory. So we have thousands of scientists that come from all over the world to use our facilities here.
Oh, wow.
To conduct experiments. So it's not just the employees that we have here, it's our user community as well that, just makes this place jive and jump all.
So you have all these, and I think what Latoya was getting at, you have all these generations, different, how are you implementing things? Like I can imagine and plus add on the fact that these are super smart people that, you walk into a room and say, I want to implement, performance reviews that are not yearly, but monthly, and we want to get rid of this. And it must be very different. Like you have to know your stuff there in order to do these.
Every population, there is the yay and the nay with every population. We have some organizations that are, for example, just speaking about performance appraisals, we have some organizations that really value that process and use it very well. And then we have other organizations that say, you know what, if we produce something, if we invent something, that's evidence of our progress.
Right.
But conversely, if they don't explore or invent something, that doesn't mean they haven't been doing anything all that time. So we have to be able to capture that, right? So so it is very difficult, first of all, to have everybody embrace and accept change. But I think that more and more people are just understanding the need for it, because our financial landscape is changing so dramatically that we can't do business as usual. And so we need to be able to be more agile. So human resources itself is quite agile because we are constantly dodging and pulling and, just trying to bring people around to understand why we need to do the things that we're doing.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
Even if they don't feel great.
Right. You have to do what you need to do. I have a question just around how your HR team is kind of structured. You have a learning development section. Do you have there's the business partners that work maybe with the business, a little bit more directors, if you will. How do you manage this population of very smart scientists?
So the laboratory has about 26, almost 2,700 employees.
That's a little bit. That's a lot of people.
And our human resources department probably has about 27 to 30 staff members. And we're structured in a center of excellence and then a deployed model for HR business partners. And right now we are 4 HR business partners. They also call us HRMs. And we're deployed to various directorates or divisions. Corporations, they might be called divisions. Here, they're called directorates. Some of us have multiple directorates.
Depending on the size or whatever.
Exactly. So one of my colleagues has one directorate that's very large. It's the physics directorate, nuclear particle physics directorate. Very large organization with a number of also very large divisions within it.
Copy.
When I first came here, I filled the second position of deployed model HR business partner. It was a brand new model.
Wow.
And my colleague who started 2 weeks before I did, and I were the first ones in this position. And so we had to kind of, do a lot of dancing with our customers because they weren't used to the model. They weren't used to what value they were going to get from somebody knowing their organization intimately and being able to respond strategically, quickly, and with a knowing mind. We do work with centers of excellence, our benefits, our learning and development, our diversity our diversity office, affirmative action office, our training and qualifications office. So there are a number of centers of excellence, our Office of International Services as well. But we are the liaison between our customers and those organizations, and we are deeply embedded with our customers. When I started here, I didn't even work in the human resources department per se. I worked in a building embedded with my clients.
Oh, wow. And so how do you, you're in a highly sophisticated, like, I'm dealing, no offense to sales or product people. I mean, there's obviously complexity in those roles, but you're dealing with like I think you said before, nuclear particle. Did I hear that correctly?
So one of our departments is
how do you embed yourself in there? Like, how do you understand their business? How do you relate to them? I mean, is it just you study or you're taught? Like, how do you get to know?
You get another degree.
For me,
you make it up. No.
By osmosis, right? I mean, you immerse yourself, you listen. I was part of their work groups. I am part of their work groups. I am part of their management team. I attend their meetings, their regular staff meetings with the members of each of those different, within my customer base right now, I have 26 departments.
Wow.
So, and within those 26 departments, I think it's 11 divisions. So my calendar looks very much like a checkerboard. I color code my calendar because I also have time.
Yeah. Now I know why it's so hard for us to coordinate. I thought it was me.
But it's an immersion process, really. And we don't learn the science, we learn the business of the science.
Oh, I like that.
I will never be able to understand the science fully. I can probably give you the super, super simple explanation of one or two of my departments. But I do understand their business. I understand their human capital challenges. And that's what I'm there to help them with. It's to optimize the human capital potential.
So you're when you say East, I imagine Long Island East. So how are you finding new people? I mean, obviously you're reputable, international. You're you're probably globally in terms of your brand awareness. Like, people know about you, and if they want to study certain things or invent certain things, they're coming to you. But otherwise, like, how are you recruiting folks in your organization?
Well, a lot of times, there's a lot of networking. When I say networking, the hiring managers, which we sometimes hear called PIs or principal investigators, these are the people who own the proposals, who are paying for whatever talent we're looking to hire. Sometimes they have a network. Understand that a lot of the times that we're recruiting for something very, very specific. Okay, because we're looking to fill a position in a group that does a specific science. Right now we have a growing computational science initiative, and they're growing by leaps and bounds. It's a beautiful thing. I'm really happy to be a part of this. But the talent that we're looking for is the talent that Google and AOL and Yahoo is looking for. Okay, these are people who are into machine learning and provenance, and so you have those people who want to work in a commercial aspect of this, and people who want to work in a research aspect of this. And it's managing big data. And when we have users who come here and use one of our collider, for example, or one of our beams in the light source, they generate a lot of data. They have to do stuff with that data. The scientists that we hire in our computational science initiative develop algorithms and work with those users to make their data meaningful. And so we're competing for that talent, which goes, believe me when I tell you, they get paid a whole lot more at Google and Yahoo than they will here. But for the most part, people are here for the mission and the purpose, as well as for the intellectual challenge. And that's what we're attracting. So we go to universities, we go to consortiums, we go to conferences where these people gather.
Right.
Scientists present at those conferences, draw attention from people who with like minds and
Content marketing. Yep.
So, it's a matter of our recruiters here working with those hiring managers, picking their brains, making sure that we're getting the benefit of their networking, because we can't always go out and network with them.
Of course.
And that we are also, trying to recruit from universities that develop these kinds of students and that kind of talent. We hire student assistants, and then we try to, groom them through their PhD career.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Now, are you involved in the recruiting at all, or do you have a separate recruiting function that handles a lot of it?
There is a talent acquisition group, and we have recruiters. They used to report to the HR business partners, and that model changed because the supply and demand wasn't always calibrated properly.
Mm-hmm.
So now they are with the Center of Excellence, the recruiters. They still tend to focus on certain areas because they've already established themselves within.
Right.
Subject matter experts. Yeah.
We do have a little more cross-laboratory recruitment.
Okay.
So my part of that is with regard to the opening itself, the level of the opening, the duration of the opening, the budgeting for the opening, and then of course the criteria and the qualifications, and then the recruiter goes out there and does what they have to do, and to make sure that we don't have that talent that is maybe underutilized within,
right.
that we can optimize, because like I said, our dollars are short and they have expiration dates.
Yeah, I can imagine. And it's funny because here I'm thinking I'm only competing with LivePerson and Google for data scientists. And now I have to realize Brookhaven is a place where I have to,
I know, I said the same thing. I'm like, wait, they have machine learning and data science as well?
Oh, man. Yeah.
I'm going to be in front of the office being like, come this way.
Yeah, exactly. Go out to Long Island.
I thought you were coming to apply to this, but you're really
yeah, have a little table outside of Brookhaven.
Exactly.
No, we won't do that. We're just kidding.
No, just I'm kidding. We're just now.
It's amazing. So now, a couple of things. One is are you guys doing anything? I have a personal opinion about HR and the innovation within HR. I won't state it again on this show, but are you doing anything innovative from an HR perspective? Are you trying to, like you talked about becoming more agile, or your HR is agile? Are you thinking about new programs like performance management changes? Anything there that you're working on that you want to sort of talk about?
So, we're always looking, we have consistent, process improvement here. We do have a large population. We have a lot of data to manage. No sooner do you implement a system, it's already obsolete by the time you finish implementing and you're looking at the next thing. We're always looking for ways to marry talent acquisition and HRIS and,
Yes.
onboarding. And those things are just constant challenges from money perspective, from a suitability perspective, from an ease of implementation perspective. And then there's the process, request for proposal, the vetting, all that.
Sure.
So we're constantly, I feel like we're constantly in that right now. And, we are also looking for ways to optimize our digital presence. And so, we're working with some organizations to do that, because, we're not web people. We're not, search engine optimization experts. We're not those people. And so we need to do more of that, because our dollars are so scarce that we have to put them wherever we're going to get our biggest bang.
Of course.
Right.
And so that's, what we're working on right now, is just looking for ways to work smarter, to, work with the lean departments that we have here, because, we've had to undergo recently some body cuts. I mean, we've had a number of exits. SSVSP, which is, a self-select voluntary program. And then we had an involuntary program. And, we have to make our budget. We can't operate in the red. That's not an option.
Yeah. Any of them data scientists, you can send them my way. No.
Those people, and that's the challenge, where some areas are shrinking, others are bursting at the seams. We can't find people quickly enough.
Yeah.
And it, the optics of that may be confusing to some people within and externally.
Right, because you're reducing here and increasing here, and it's like, well, if they not do it,
and not only that,
in startup world too, as companies shift. I imagine Live Person has shifted a whole bunch recently, so you've probably seen some of that stuff.
I know we want to attract people, and they're saying, "Oh, wait a minute, but you're letting people go." Yeah, but not those people.
Right, exactly.
So that's a real difficult message to put out there when you're trying to recruit for hard to find people.
So I like playing this West Coast, East Coast, Tupac, Biggie Smalls thing here, where what is it about New York? I'm obviously like you, born and raised here, so I love New York. I love being an HR person in New York. Why do you think it's interesting, difficult, however you want to put it, being, running human resources, being part of human resources in a city like New York?
Well, I don't have a frame of reference for anywhere because I've only ever worked in New York. So it's less of a comparison than it is an experiential account.
Right.
And I think, it's just because we operate at the speed of light. And, and the city that never sleeps has a human resources that never sleeps. And I think my family will attest to that. But I just really think that it is the speed at which everything needs to happen in New York.
That's now and yesterday.
Exactly. I mean,
and cheap.
You're planning, but all you're doing is, lessening the dire need of something that was required,
Sure.
So I really think that is, you can't move fast enough. And I don't know about organizations in the last 8 years that I have been here, but I don't know any department, any human resources department that is adequately staffed. So, because again, I think one of the reasons it's so hard to do it in New York is because there isn't an organization that has enough staffing. Every HR person, and, as the president of Sherman Long Island, I come across a lot of HR people. Everybody's overworked, we're all at meetings looking at our emails. We're all working weekends. We're all working nights. We're all working holidays and vacations. I don't know the last time I went on a vacation without my laptop.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the go. I think that's it. I mean,
it's the hustle bustle.
The hustle and bustle, yes.
Yeah. You totally. See the same thing, LaToya?
I mean, of course. I mean, I'm shaking my head and I'm like, yep. Because, I mean, that's just, especially when you're working in a fast-moving, I was looking at something this earlier today around organizational ecology, right? And it's this concept that, if you have the organization and the management and as HR people, we kind of see how the managers internally rotate, but kind of taking a step out and kind of looking at the environmental pressures of the businesses, competitors, things like that really disrupts. It's kind of like tectonic plates kind of moving and causing this disruption. And that could probably speak to why HR is never really equipped, because we're dealing with human beings in the workplace with all kinds of experiences, both professionally and sometimes even personally, So it's the same. I'm like shaking my head like, yep.
Exactly.
Sounds about right.
It's exponential,
Yeah. It's hard to measure. I mean, you don't have customer service. You get customer service inquiries. You can see HR, unless we really think of it from that perspective, there's no way to really measure the interactions you're having with employees that literally take 30, 40 minutes of your time. And next thing you know, you're like, your calendar's busted. And So it really, it's an interesting thing when you're dealing in HR. I always say, because I come from, sort of a creative background, that, creative is always hard to measure, right? It's always subjective. HR, same thing. Like, you can't, how many recruiters do you need? I mean, there's some mathematics you can put into it. Like, you can look at job recs, but it never seems to be quite right, and it's always understaffed. But my thing about New York HR is the diversity. I mean, I love when I go to other places, I see the same people that look the same, they hire the same. I think in New York, you just have such opportunity. Like, if, there should be zero diversity challenges in any company in New York. There just has to be. Like, the amount of people from different locations, like it's not a pool issue. It's definitely not, access to diverse talent in New York. And I love that about New York. I love walking out the street and, I see somebody and they look different than me and they have different language. And I just love that part of being in HR in New York, where I didn't see it. Yeah. So great. So we're coming up, at the end of the show, and typically what we ask is our pizza question. I'm
going to sit out for this one.
But we're in Long Island. I don't know. Like, I don't know about Long Island and pizza.
Well, having been born and raised in New York City, trust me when I tell you that the best pizza I've ever had was in Manhattan.
Okay.
And I grew up on a slice of pizza and a lemon ice. They had to go together.
I love it.
And so, to find a slice of pizza and a lemon ice here in Long Island, you can do it, but it takes a little looking.
Is there any go-to place by you now? Like, so you're busy, you say your calendar's like, the Rubik's Cube of calendars. You want to jump out, you want to get something quick. Is there something local to you?
There really is nothing quick, because out here, exit 68 is William Floyd Parkway, and you either have to go north or south. There's nothing. We have a cafeteria, we have some kiosks, if you want sandwiches and salads. If you want pizza, lately I have been attuned to this thing called salad slice. And like everything on a salad, but on a crisp,
really good
dough, and it's really good. But my new favorite are sliders from this pizza joint called Alfredo's. They also have very pizza, but I like the sliders. They are either meatball or chicken parm, meatball parm, chicken parm, or they also have mozzarella and basil and tomato.
Great.
Yum.
In a garlic knot.
Starving right now.
Oh my gosh.
I'll eat that.
I gotta go. I'm starving.
I'll eat that.
The garlic knots and then this thing inside of it. Oh my, it's a sandwich.
It sounds wonderful.
Messy, but it is so good.
Oh yeah, I'm starving. I gotta go now. That's great.
Exactly.
Well, Christel, thank you so much for joining us. You did wonderful, fantastic. You were awesome. Thank you, Latoya. Thank you for joining us again.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you for co-hosting.
Nice meeting you. All the best to both of you.
Yeah, no, this was great, and thank you so much for agreeing to be part of the show. We will we'll send you a link and let you know when we're live. So thank you again.
And also come on summer Sundays. Everybody's always so curious about what goes on at Brookhaven National Laboratory, and we open to the public 5 Sundays a year.
Very cool.
That sounds great. Maybe not the summer, but everyone's heading out there.
Well, when it becomes summer, let me know.
Yeah, that's true. Very cool. Well, thanks, guys. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye-bye.